Hi, this is Grandma Lori with a story about Prophet Daniel and lions. But first, I want to ask you a question to think about. Why do you think so many people want power? Why do they feel extra important if they can make other people do what they want and force those people to do it or be punished in some way? They want to seem better or stronger than other people so that nations and armies or small groups will follow them and everyone will bow to them. Or, in our century, everyone will obey them, even if we don't bow. Sometimes fame is power. Very often, money is power. They want to own all kinds of things that will make other people admire them, praise them, and be jealous. Some people get power by being beautiful or handsome. No matter what way people try for power and importance, pretty soon chasing power of any kind might become kind of like your God. You will do anything to get more, more, more. Anyway, our story today is about the prophet Daniel and how people who were addicted to power tried to kill him. Remember, I told the story of how the Medes and Persians took over the whole country of Babylonia by crawling through a drained riverbed that went under a wall. After they won the overnight battle, they brought in their king, who was named Darius the Great. He had been the king of the Medes and the Persians before, and now he ruled Babylonia too. It was the biggest kingdom that had ever existed in the world. Let me show you a map. Can you see this little red thing right over here? That's Israel. And it was taken over by the green thing, which is Syria. And then Syria and Israel were taken over by the Assyrian Empire, even Egypt. And finally, the empire of Darius the Great, light green, was the Medes, the Persians, and the Babylonians. And they had the biggest empire in the world of the time. Darius was such an excellent king that all of his people admired him. Everybody wanted to be best friends with King Darius, just like you would like to be friends with a world-famous singer or athlete, or somebody who had his own swimming pool, tennis court, and bowling alley. As I told you earlier, King Darius divided his great empire into provinces, like states, and gave each of his provinces a prince-governor. These men were the most powerful men under King Darius. The king chose those men because they were good governors. But even so, each governor wanted to be more famous and more rich and more powerful than the other governors. They wanted everyone in the kingdom to bow to them, give them gifts, and tell them they were wonderful. Who wouldn't like that? All of them wanted power, more fame. Doesn't that sound a little like the pride of Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar? Well, yes, it does. People who are proud are usually the people who want more power. Their pride and ego usually gets them into trouble. King Darius had made the prophet Daniel one of the prince governors over the great city of Babylon. Although Daniel was getting older in those days, he ruled with justice, kindness, and remarkable humility. He did not think he was better than everybody else, which was very unusual. Maybe that's why the people of Babylon loved him the best. So they obeyed him, cooperated with his plans. The city of Babylon got more beautiful, well taken care of, and richer. It had less crime and more happiness than other provinces. King Darius was hugely pleased with Daniel's excellent work.
Daniel, you are my favorite prince governor. In fact, you are such a wonderful ruler. I hope to make you the second leader of my own kingdom, with only me ruling over you. You may spread your wonderful plans to the rest of my empire.
Well, it was no surprise that all the other prince governors and a lot of rich men and high officials in Babylon were very, very jealous of Daniel. Several of them got together, tried to think of some way they could get rid of Daniel.
Maybe we can catch him doing something dishonest, like stealing from the king's treasury.
But Daniel was never dishonest. Another said,
Maybe we can trap him doing something immoral with one of King Darius's wives or concubines.
Yes, King Darius had 3 wives and many concubines. Do you remember what a concubine is? It's an almost wife, but not official. But Daniel was never immoral. He had 1 wife, Susanna, and loved only her. Another enemy said,
Maybe we can catch Daniel saying something bad or telling secrets about King Darius. We could accuse Daniel of treason against the king or his empire.
But Daniel was always loyal to King Darius, so that plot didn't work either. At last, Daniel's enemies thought up a great plan. Everybody knew that if there was anything Daniel loved more than the king, it was his God in heaven. He even told King Darius that his God was the most important thing in his whole life. But King Darius didn't mind that because he knew it was Daniel's God that made Daniel so honest and faithful and good, and had blessed him with intelligence and excellence in everything he did. Every person who passed Daniel's house knew of Daniel's faithfulness to God. They could see Daniel every day kneeling in his garden or next to the big window in his bedroom, praying to his God. Daniel prayed 3 times a day without fail. Daniel's enemies figured out that his religion was the only way they could destroy Daniel. So the group of enemies got together and went to see the king. They bowed low, praising him.
Oh, King, you are the most wonderful, powerful person in the world. In fact, we think you are just as good as any of the gods we worship.
They went on and on, worshiping and praising the king. Naturally, that made King Darius feel rather pleased. The men said,
Your Majesty, since we worship you as equal to any of our gods, we want to honor you with a special action on the part of every person in your whole empire.
King Darius looked flattered, but curious, and asked,
How could my whole empire honor me?
One of them replied, Oh, King, live forever. All of us, we presidents, governors, counselors, and deputies, have all decided that you should make a law that for the next 30 days, anyone who asks a favor of any god or man, except from you, your majesty, shall be thrown to the lions. That way, everyone in every city will honor and praise only you and realize your magnificence in their lives. And to make sure it will be done by every man, woman, and child, we ask you to sign this scroll that will make the saying a law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be changed.
Now let me explain this special law. Most countries and empires, whenever they changed kings or rulers, had the problem that the new king changed all the laws to suit himself. The people could not keep up with what was okay and what was forbidden, and that was very confusing. So the empire of the Medes and Persians had decided there should be a special kind of law that could not be changed, no matter what. They called these laws the laws of the Medes and the Persians. Those laws could never be changed by anybody, anytime, ever. It seemed like a great idea at the time, and that's what the anti-Daniel group wanted King Darius to sign. Well, King Darius had been so flattered and buttered up by these guys, he didn't give very deep thought to their suggestion. He just signed the law onto a scroll. Of course, everybody heard of this new law, even Daniel. But Daniel had decided long ago, and he had told the king, that nothing would ever stop him from worshiping his God of heaven. So, as usual, he went home to his upstairs bedroom with its windows open toward Jerusalem. He prayed,
Dear Lord, thank you for all your blessings. Please bless King Darius and his empire, and please protect me from this latest law.
Daniel was no dummy. He knew who had made the king sign this law, and he knew why. He even knew that death was nipping at his heels. Daniel's prayers to the Lord were deep and sincere that evening, but offered with Daniel's trust in God. He prayed,
O Lord, if it is thy time to bring me home to thee, I have lived the best life I knew how, and served thee constantly. I will bow to thy will, whatever it may be, but I pray for thy protection from both evil men and hungry lions. I desire to continue to serve this empire in every righteous way. O dear God, thy will be done.
Of course, Daniel's enemies were waiting right outside to witness that he was praying. Immediately they rushed back to the king and reminded him of his new law. They said,
O greatest of kings, have you not signed a law of the Medes and Persians that allows no prayers to any god or man except you, a law for 30 days? Did you not say that anyone who disobeys the law will be thrown to the lions?
The king replied,
Yes, that is the law of the Medes and the Persians for 30 days.
The men bowed to the ground in humility.
Oh, great majesty, this law has already been broken. The man Daniel, one of your Jewish captives who now rules Babylon, is breaking your law at this moment and showing enormous disrespect to you. He is praying to his own God, asking favors and blessings 3 times a day. We have seen him. We are witnesses of his disloyalty to you.
Suddenly, the king saw the trap they had led him into. They knew he favored Daniel above all other governors. They knew Daniel would never put any law or king above his God of heaven. He was furious at the men who had trapped him and trapped Daniel. He knew they had done it out of jealousy and spite.
How dare you, the king shouted. Get out of my sight right now.
He spent all day trying to figure out a way to save Daniel, but there was no way. That evening, the enemies came again to remind the king,
Your Majesty, there is nothing you can do. You signed the law, and it cannot be changed.
So, at last the king gave the order to his guards.
Go to the home of Governor Daniel and arrest him. I will meet you and him at the prison.
Inside the king's prison was a deep cave-like pit in which lions were kept for special execution of criminals. On this evening, the lions had not been fed for 3 days. They would be ravenous, and Daniel's enemies knew that. The king himself came to Daniel before he was cast down into the pit. His sorrow at making such a law caused him to almost weep as he spoke to Daniel. The king said,
I pray that your God, whom you worship continually, shall deliver you.
Then the guards lowered Daniel into the pit, where he already heard the lions growling and padding back and forth. A great flat stone was pushed over the opening so that only a little light filtered in through the cracks. The king himself pressed his ring into the ceiling plaster between the stone and prison floor so that no one could rescue Daniel without the king's seal being broken. Daniel fell immediately to his knees in the lion's den, praying for delivery, but expecting death at any moment. King Darius immediately went to his room. He also prayed intensely to Daniel's God that his friend would be saved from the lions. He refused to eat or drink or visit or be entertained as he usually was every other evening. Immediately in the morning, the king ran to the prison and stood over the lion's den. In a voice of anguish he cried out, "O Daniel, you servant of the living God, was your God able to save you from the lions?" The king heard a voice from below the stone.
"Your Majesty, live forever."
It was Daniel. King Darius ordered the stone pulled aside and looked into the pit to see Daniel standing with the lions lying around like tired pets. The king called up to Daniel,
"My God has sent his angels to shut the lions' mouths so they cannot touch me, for I am innocent before God, and sire, I have never betrayed thee."
The king did not know whether to laugh or cry with joy, but ordered,
"Drop down the rope ladder and bring Daniel out."
Daniel was lifted up from the pit, and not a scratch was found on him. He had trusted his God, and his God had saved him. Impossible, but wonderfully true. Then the king commanded the guards that the men who had accused Daniel be brought to him right there in the prison. When they came, he had accused them. "Your jealousy and spite nearly caused the death of the most valuable governor in my kingdom. You shall suffer the fate you planned for him." He had his guards throw the men down into the den of lions. The hungry lions leaped upon them and tore them apart before they even hit the bottom of the den. Afterward, King Darius rewarded Daniel by making him the second highest ruler in the kingdom. Then he wrote this message addressed to everyone in his empire.
"Greetings! I, King Darius, decree that everyone shall tremble and fear before the God of Daniel in every part of my kingdom, for his God is the living, unchanging God, whose kingdom shall never be destroyed and whose power shall never end. He delivers his people, preserving them from harm. He does great miracles in heaven and on earth. It is he who delivered Daniel from the power of the lions."
So Daniel was saved and continued to govern well during the reign of King Darius, and even later in the reign of his son, King Cyrus the Persian. And that still isn't the end of the story. Come again to hear more. Bye for now.